So, hello everyone, welcome to Clarity for Sale. So, it's a great opportunity to have with us Oindrila Das, and she had recently cleared IRDA examination. So, first of all, my congratulations to you, Oindrila.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so today with Oindrila, we will try to understand that how she succeeded in this examination, IRDA 2024 examination, and become assistant manager. Because this year we have very less vacancy, nearly 49 vacancies are there, and you are one of the luckiest candidate to get into that 40 49 49 vacancies, right. So we will try to see that what are the strategies that you need to follow in order to achieve this success, in order to clear, in order to get into the final list of ADA examination. So it will definitely help the other aspirants as well, and the aspirants who are just starting their preparation. It will definitely help you. So with all these things, let's start the session of today's session with Andrela. So first of all, Andrela, just tell about yourself, like
Right.
your
So,
education cycle.
I'm originally from Kolkata, West Bengal, but I did my graduation in Delhi University. I did mathematics honors from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. I completed my graduation in 2018. After that, I started preparing for UPSC, but I prepared it like more for 1 or 2 years. But then COVID came, so I decided to shift to other exams because I didn't want to get stuck in this whole UPSC cycle. That time, around 2020, I started preparing for SSC, banking, PO, similar level of exams. And consequently, 2021, I cracked IPS clerk, IPS PO, and my present job at IB. And I decided to join IB. And I joined the organization 2022 and have been working there since. I'm presently posted in Gaya, Bihar, and I have always wanted to work in a regulatory body because the thing is my educational background is in maths, but my second language was economics, and I quite liked it during my graduation days. So I always wanted to work in the policy formation side in the economic sector, like in the economy part of the sector. So I think that's how I decided to come for the regulatory body exams, and that's how I'm here technically.
Okay, okay. So here we all need to know that after completing her graduation, Andila just started preparing for UPSC. So there is a trend that lots of students used to shift from UPSC preparation to this regulatory body examination. So because it also give a very good opportunity for exposure, like in regulatory body, you can be a part of policy formulation and all. But apart from that, she prepared for IBPS different examinations. So, and I think RBI, you also prepared for RBI, right?
Yes, sir. I've started preparing for RBI in 2024 beginning. Seriously started preparing then. And I gave a
Okay,
serious
okay.
study in 2024, but I couldn't clear the prelims. So I then prepared for RBI.
So, you must have completed the things from RBI, lots of things like for the main.
Yes, sir. So the thing was that what I was lacking in the RBI side of preparation was that I focused too much on phase two to the point that almost completely neglected phase one. So I think I would
Okay,
suggest
okay.
that to students that do not neglect phase one completely, because no matter how well prepared you are for phase two, you won't be able to sit for it unless you clear phase one. So at least give us, certain amount of attention to that part too.
Yeah, similar type of things we also see in other examination. In ADA itself, if we will talk that most of the students used to focus on the phase two part. They start writing practices using pen and paper. They cover the insurance management, but they are neglecting the phase one part, which is very important because in just 90 minutes, we have to manage our time in such a way that we have to attempt like 160 questions in just 90 minutes. So it
Right.
is very important part that we should not neglect the phase one.
also
And how you,
psychologically also
yeah.
psychologically it helps quite a lot in phase two, because what happens is that oftentimes people who are at the edge of phase one prep, like marks, and they're not sure if they're
Hmm.
clear or not. Even after giving phase one, they can't, with clear mind they can't prepare for phase two. So अगर phase two आपका अच्छा जाता है कि आपको पता है आप निकल ही जाओगे, तो आप थोड़ा अच्छे से क्लियर भी मतलब प्रिपेयर भी कर पाते हो। नहीं तो अगर आप फेज वन में ऐसा रहता है कि जैसे इस बार मान लीजिए पीपल हु आर लाइक एट द एज ऑफ 100 मार्क्स, दे आर लाइक पता नहीं होगा
Hmm.
कि नहीं होगा, तो फेज टू में भी आप डिलेमा में प्रिपेयर करते रहते हो, तो वो भी आप अच्छे से कर नहीं पाते हो।
और बहुत कम टाइम मिला था इस बार भी एडा के एग्जामिनेशन हम
हम्म,
देखेंगे तो फेज वन और फेज टू में नियरली 1 मंथ ऑनली लाइक स्टूडेंट्स
right.
गिव द टाइम। तो
हम्म,
उस टाइम में अगर आप डिलेमा में हो तो फिर it would be difficult for any sort of students in order to clear the examination.
Yes.
क्योंकि phase 2 का completely different strategy, not unlike the other regulatory bodies. Like.
Yes, right.
और Andrila, एक और बात, like you have joined the Ministry of Home Affairs, central government. You are working as a central government employee in Ministry of Home Affairs, right from 2022, right?
Yes, that's
So
right.
how you manage the time?
So I think as a working aspirant, you can't expect having a consistent study routine, right? So sometimes it's like having half an hour a day. Sometimes it's like 6 hours a day. So you make use of whatever time you get. Even like for example, for me, sometimes office my lunch, if I get like half an hour or 1 hour, I would complete a subject, or I'll complete a video or something like that. And if you're working, I would suggest that you should have longer, targets. Don't have daily targets, because then you will feel demotivated because you're not being able to complete it. Rather have qualitative targets ke mere ko, let's say in 1 week I have to finish at least two to the one, or like let's say three sections of the insurance subject. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि if you can't finish today, then you can make up for that lost time on the next day, or some the day after, and that keeps you motivated. And also have achievable targets. Like, don't make big targets. It's better to have smaller targets completed, and then go beyond your target, rather than having huge targets and not completing, and then you feel demotivated. Okay, I'm not being able to do what I want to do. So I think that is one way to keep yourself motivated, to have achievable targets, longer targets, and make use of any time that you get, for working aspirants.
Yeah, Andrea, you pointed out very important point for the working students, that they need to make like longer targets, and they so that they can keep themselves motivated. Second thing, what they need to do, to be consistent, at least half an hour or 1 hour, but daily they should give for
Right.
the
You
like
can't, when
yeah.
you're working,
So
you can't think
consistency is
like a,
important, right?
हाँ, you can't think like कि आज मेरे पास आधा घंटे है, तो क्या ही स्टार्ट करेंगे, कल से स्टार्ट करेंगे. You can't do that, because that half an hour you're giving to the studies will actually add on to something later on.
Yeah.
So you can't have such strict study routine कि मेरे को पढ़ने बैठना है तो 2 घंटा बैठना ही है. It might not be
Mhm.
possible on all days. Sometimes it will look like half an hour, 1 hour, and you have to take that
And
to.
because of this time constraint, many students got demotivated. Working candidates got demotivated, but they should keep themselves motivated so that they can crack any sort of examination whichever yet they are appearing at.
Right.
And obviously, one important thing that you have suggested, making long targets. Like targets should be little bit longer, so that uh, like it will not demotivate you, like you are not completing the daily target or like that.
Right.
Okay, Andrina. So, and coming to the phase, now talking about this ADI assistant manager examination, let's start with phase one. What's your strategy in phase one? Since you have like mathematics background, so I hope that you might not facing a lot of problem in quant and reasoning part, but other section like for the GA part and English part, how you manage the thing?
So even though I have a quant like maths background, English is actually my strongest section out of all the four sections.
All right.
So, but yeah, keeping that aside, I think every exam has a different requirement when it comes to the phase one. For example, if I speak specifically with respect to IRDI, they actually have quite a average level of questions. It's not very difficult. So it's important that when you're starting for an exam, go through the PYQs to understand the kind of questions that are coming. For IDEA, it's easy. So you need to work on your speed and accuracy, because there's not a lot of scope of to leave questions. So you need to increase your speed, because the paper is easy, the cutoffs got really high, right? Like it was 110 this year, and if the level of question paper remains same next year, it will probably go even higher, because the awareness about the exam has increased now over the years.
Yeah.
So one is that if you're starting from like the scratch, like you're new to the whole regulatory body, or to similar kind of questions, I would suggest go through there are a lot of videos on YouTube these days, or you can take up in phase one course to understand how to approach questions first. And once you've understood the approach a bit, you can time yourself to understand kitna time mein you're making able to attempt the question. Two, I would suggest give a lot of mocks in order to encounter a number, like different questions, and a bit under pressure of timing. क्योंकि आप बैठ के कोई क्वेश्चन करोगे तो आपका 15 मिनट में हो ही जाएगा, बट दैट इज नॉट यूजफुल. यू हैव टू डू इट विद इन लाइक 2 to 3 minutes if that's the level of the question. So yeah, I would suggest if you're starting from scratch, go through YouTube videos or any phase one course, practice a lot of questions, time yourself, and give like a lot of mocks. And
Practicing more and more questions
yes,
definitely going to help
right,
the new
right,
students, right?
right.
And it will also make you learn about the time management, that how you
Yes,
manage
yes,
the time,
right.
how you have, because you have to complete the paper. We also talk to different toppers. Okay, they have told that they attempted the English and GA portion first in the
Mhm.
examination, and they
Yes,
try to cover the things in just less than 25 minutes, like that,
yes,
so that
yes.
they can
So
allocate.
yeah, so this strategy is something that you have to figure out through your mocks, as in which order if you attempt it, you'll optimize your attempts on optimize your marks. For example, I started with, as like the other person also said, I also started with English, and then I did GA, then I did reasoning, and then I did quant. And if you get stuck in some question, try to leave it and come back later on, because otherwise you'll end up wasting a lot of time, which is what I did in my RBI 2024 paper this year. I think there was one question, it was looking very easy because it was just like very small question, but I got stuck somewhere and I ended up wasting a lot of time in that question. So don't try to do. Sometimes exam में क्या होता है कि आप एक लाइन गलत पढ़ते हो तो वो आप वही गलत लाइन पे करते रहते हो, तो फिर आपका टाइम वेस्ट हो जाता है. अगर 1 मिनट पे आपको
Mhm.
नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, इफ यू सी दैट द क्वेश्चन इज स्मॉल एंड यू नॉट बीइंग एबल टू डू इन 1 मिनट, skip it and come back later on. And this is something you'll actually learn through your mocks, like कि किस ऑर्डर में अटेम्प्ट करना चाहिए, किस में आपके लिए बेटर हो रहा है. तो या
और मॉक्स अटेम्प्ट करने के बाद यू गेट समवेयर कॉन्फिडेंस कि हाँ यार, लाइक we won't we should not attach to the question, to the nature of the question. Okay, we should not get emotional in the examination. This is just examination, and we need to get the maximum out of that. Like,
राइट,
ये आपको मॉक्स सिखाता है कि हाँ,
राइट,
at what time, at what point we have to leave the this question and move on to the next section, right? ये
राइट,
मॉक्स सिखाते हैं, and obviously speed and accuracy definitely matters a lot, because you have to attempt 40 and 40 questions for quant and 40 for reasoning. So it matters a lot. Okay. So for phase one, speed and accuracy is the key word apart from time management, right?
yes, yes, absolutely.
It got sorted. Okay. And talking about the phase two, what's your strategy? Because phase two now, this for IRDA examination, it's quite different. The nature of the examination, we are using pen and paper method to attain the questions. So it is quite different from other regulatory bodies like NABARD and RBI. So what's your strategy in order to attempt, and how you attempted the question, whether it is point wise you have attempted the question or paragraph based method you have used, whether you have used the flowcharts, diagrams, case study examples. So please explain briefly, just uh, taking insurance and management and ESI separately.
Right. So as far as starting, I would suggest first, when you're approaching phase two, the preparation, first start with the insurance part. You need to have a good conceptual clarity about the insurance subjects in order to understand the ESI paper, because it's not usually ESI like RBI, but it's ESI impacting insurance. So first start with the insurance, then go for ESI, and at the end do management. This is the order I would suggest. Second of all, I would suggest, because it's a pen and paper method of exam, which is unlike the other regulatory body exams, I would suggest just start writing from the beginning, right? Don't be scared of that mental block. Okay, I'm not used to writing. My answers will be bad. I should read up and later on start writing and everything. Just start writing somewhere. Initially, your answers are not going to be good, or your notes are not going to be good or concise. They're going to be really bulky, not good enough points and everything. But start somewhere, and as and when you keep writing, after a point, your answer will start getting better in itself. So this is another suggestion, with especially for IRDA. As for how to study, what I used to do was that I would, I would print out the syllabus and I would take up a topic, and I made sure that from every topic I had around 10 to 12 good points. So for that I would usually go through some either Chat GPT, Google, or there are a lot of free resources on. Like YouTube these days also. Plus, if you take up any coaching material, they also have a lot of PDF and everything. So go through that topic. Go through video classes if you're not getting clarity about the subject just from reading up. You can use internet and everything, and then I would suggest try to make notes on it. And another step that I used to do in between was that I would imagine somebody sitting in front of me, and I would teach the imaginary person in front of me the concept. So in case I'm not able to explain something, then I know that okay, I'm lacking there in my concept in that part. But that's optional. You don't have to do that. But yeah, you just start writing. And another thing that I did while making notes was that I used to make notes in the form of question and answer, because I was a working aspirant. What is initially what I was doing is that I would make normal short notes, and then after 3-4 days I would start writing answers and everything. I felt it was taking a bit of more time because I had limited time. But if you're not if you're a full-time aspirant, you can make notes first and then do answer writing later on. But for working aspirant, I think this is a suggestion I would like to give, is that you can make notes in the form of question answer, because where you'll get very used to writing your writing your notes in the form of answers, like a conclusion, a introduction आपका automatically बन जाएगा, ताकि later on you don't have to think, give too much time into those aspects. Because one thing about IRDA phase 2 is that, because unlike other regulatory papers which has a objective component to it, also this is the full subjective paper. So you won't get so too much of time to think about in the exam. आपको क्वेश्चन दिखेगा, आपको 5 से 7 सेकंड मिलेंगे, उसके बाद ही आपको लिखना शुरू करना पड़ेगा. तो दीज इंट्रोडक्शन,
Exactly.
कंक्लूजन आपको मतलब एक पॉइंट के बाद ऑटोमेटिकली आना चाहिए, नहीं तो आपका पेपर ही कंप्लीट नहीं होगा. ठीक है, तो आई वुड सजेस्ट ऑफ कोर्स स्टार्ट राइटिंग क्वेश्चंस, डोंट be scared of answer writing and everything. Start somewhere. As far as how to write answers, so I would suggest writing in point wise, because the thing is that IRDI mein the space to write answers is fixed, so you can't go beyond that. So in order to maximize the points that you're going to write in your answer, it's better to write in point wise and write brief points. So like you give an intro, and then you write different points, and हर points के ऊपर एक line, like 10 to 20 words पे आप उसको थोड़ा expand कर दो. इसमें क्या होगा कि एक तो the people who are checking your answers, they are checking like 40-50 answer sheets a day. So वो उतनी बल्कि आपके पैराग्राफ में से उनके लिए पॉइंट्स निकालना भी एक उनके लिए एक मतलब एक्सरसाइज टाइप का हो जाएगा. तो they'll also get annoyed, and they might penalize you, not penalize you, but they can get little annoyed about that. So try to write in points, try to write and the number of points that you should write should kind of depend on your marks, as the mark of the question, as well as the space. So for example, if it's a 7 mark question, try to write 5 points, or if it's like a 12 mark question, right, try to write 8 to 9 points. So preferably in point wise form. As for flowcharts and graphs, see, the thing is that IRDI may they have quite a bit of straightforward questions. Not every question allows you to make graphs, राइट. अब जैसे इस बार क्वेश्चन आया था, व्हाट इज प्योर रिस्क एंड आई थिंक डायनामिक रिस्क और समथिंग लाइक दैट दे हैड आस्क्ड. उसमें आप क्या ही ग्राफ बनाओगे, अब घुस के ग्राफ बनाने का मतलब नहीं होता है ना. तो जो क्वेश्चन अगर डिमांड कर रहा है तो आप लिखो, और अगर नहीं कर रहा है तो बस पॉइंट वाइज में. और जैसे जैसे स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन हो गए कि मान लीजिए पूछते हैं व्हाट इज माइक्रो इंश्योरेंस, उसमें पॉइंट वाइज की भी जरूरत नहीं है. उसमें आप लिखो जो की पॉइंट्स है उसको अंडरलाइन कर दो, ताकि उनको थोड़ा सा व्हेन दे आर सीइंग द आंसर दे कैन सी द पॉइंट्स डायरेक्टली दैट यू हैव रिटन. But if but this is one suggestion I did also, that कि INM paper जो last paper होता है, उधर तक I honestly you are really tired, you are mentally tired, your limbs are tired. तब आपकी स्पीड थोड़ी स्लो हो जाती है. तो उसमें जैसे मेरा हुआ था कि मेरे लास्ट में आई थिंक 1-2 क्वेश्चन रह गए थे, एंड आई जस्ट हैव लाइक 5 minutes लेफ्ट, व्हिच वाज नॉट एनफ फॉर मी टू राइट ह्यूज आंसर्स. सो आई थिंक आई रिमेंबर मेरा वो एक लीडरशिप थ्योरीज और मोटिवेशनल थ्योरीज बोल के क्वेश्चन था. उसमें मेरे पास टाइम नहीं था कि मैं बहुत बड़े आंसर्स लिख सकूं. तो उसमें मैं जैसे ग्राफ्स वगैरह बना लिए थे, लाइक आई मेड दी मैस्लो थ्योरी, हर्जनबर्ग थ्योरी, वो सब का जो डायग्राम होता है मैंने वही बना दिया था, कि that is more efficient in putting my point across rather than writing huge paragraphs and probably leaving the answer halfway through. तो थोड़ा सा अंडरस्टैंड द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द आंसर, अंडरस्टैंड कि इसमें चाहिए भी नहीं, या फिर which is the better way. तो ऐसे जबरदस्ती मत घुसाओ, but if the answer requires, you can put up flowcharts and graphs. So you have to decide that at
Okay.
the time.
Okay. Thank you, Andila. You have suggested lots of important points that how to attempt. We have to go for the phase three examination for the new aspirants as well as
Oh,
those who are.
another point I would like to mention is that when you are attempting the paper, like the original, like the actual paper, try to attempt the big marker questions first, so that even if you leave some questions, it's a small question. For example, if I give the example of the English paper, try to attempt the RC at the end, क्योंकि अगर उसमें एक क्वेश्चन 4 मार्क्स का ही होता है, 4 से 5 मार्क्स का, उसमें आप अगर दो एक लाइन कुछ लिख भी दोगे, शायद आपको 1 मार्क्स मिल जाए. सो यू लूजिंग ऑन 4 मार्क्स, rather than let's say you keeping the essay at the end, और उसमें आप आधा ही लिख पा रहे हो तो आपका 15 मार्क्स चला जाएगा. तो ट्राई टू अटेम्प्ट द बिग मार्केट क्वेश्चंस इन द बिगिनिंग एंड द लेस मार्केट क्वेश्चंस एट द एंड. This is also one suggestion I would like to give.
One more suggestion for the English, for the basically for the English paper, right?
Yeah.
Or for the
No, like
other,
every
they
paper,
can use it. Yeah,
even
they can
sometimes in
use it for
ESI and all, there are 24 marker questions, or so there are sometimes there 24 marker questions and 7 marker questions. So obviously, logically, you should attempt the 24 marker first, right? कि 7
you will
marker
definitely land to a good mark, right?
या 7 मार्कर में अगर आप थोड़ा आधा भी लिखोगे तो आपका 3 से 4 मार्क्स ही जा रहा है. 24 मार्कर में आधा लिखोगे आपका सीधे 12 से 13 मार्क्स चला जाएगा. So it does not make sense. No, try to attempt the big marker questions first.
A smart strategy is very much important,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
तो यहाँ पे आपने सजेशन दिया फॉर द फेज टू एक्चुअली कि हाँ स्टिक टू द सिलेबस
Hmm.
topic wise you need to cover the syllabus and
Right.
try to prepare one note in question answer format from that particular topic, either it is insurance management or ESI,
Hmm.
right? और उसके बाद उसको रिवीजन करना है and if needed in the examination then only try to draw flow chart, else you have sufficient leverage to just underline highlight the important terms, key terms in the insurance,
Right.
right? So that would be sufficient. ये इस तरह से like we should proceed for the
Hmm.
phase 2. And for the ESI part, many questions are linked with the current affairs. So how
Right.
you manage that thing, and as well as in the insurance also.
Right. So there's a lot of spillover between the ESI and the IM, insurance paper. A lot of concepts that are in insurance also come in ESI. So I would suggest if it's coming in ESI, try to link it a bit with economics part. Right. For example, let's say they're asking what systemic risk, which is an insurance concept, but they're asking it in ESI paper. In that case, I would suggest try to write a bit of a comprehensive answer. उसमें थोड़ा सा आप जैसे दूसरे सेक्टर का भी इन्वॉल्व कर लिया करो. बस इंश्योरेंस के एग्जांपल ना देके जैसे बैंकिंग सेक्टर का भी एग्जांपल दे दो ताकि वो लगे कि इकोनॉमी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आप आंसर लिख रहे हो, नॉट जस्ट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू इंश्योरेंस. एक तो ये है. करंट अफेयर्स में एज फार एज दी पैटर्न ऑफ द लास्ट मतलब जो अभी तक चल रहा है 2017 23 24 में दे डू आस्क 1 or 2 स्कीम क्वेश्चंस फॉर श्योर. तो वो अच्छे से कर लो कि जितने भी आपके इंश्योरेंस वाले स्कीम्स हो गए, जितने भी मार्जिनलाइज सेक्शंस वाले स्कीम्स हो गए, मेक श्योर दैट यू नो डू देम एंड प्रिपेयर देम वेल. एज वेल एज जो अभी टॉपिक में जो चल रहा है ना, जैसे अभी एनसीएचएक्स आया था, फिर आपका बीमा ट्रिनिटी हो गया, फिर इंश्योरेंस फॉर ऑल बाय 2047, सॉवरेंटी बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस के लिए जो बॉन्ड्स होते हैं, ग्रीन बॉन्ड्स, द टॉपिक्स व्हिच आर इन दी अभी जो स्कीम्स में चल रहा है,
Hmm.
करंट अफेयर्स
Hmm.
में चल रहा है, वो सब थोड़ा बहुत कर लो. क्योंकि आई मीन if see the paper will not have all current affairs wale questions, there will be some questions which are very static and there will be some questions which are current affairs. So it's not like if you go doing just मतलब आप अगर सब करंट अफेयर्स नहीं आते तो पेपर अटेम्प्ट नहीं कर सकते. बट हाँ ये बात है कि क्योंकि स्टैटिक वाले आंसर सभी को पता है, सो इफ यू एक्चुअली अटेम्प्ट द
Hmm.
करंट अफेयर्स क्वेश्चन यू विल गेट अ बिट ऑफ एन एज बिकॉज यू आर गोइंग आउट ऑफ द वे. तो उनको भी कुछ नया चीज पढ़ने को मिलेगा एग्जाम में, right?
Okay.
And even if you're attempting the static questions, I would suggest try to inculcate some data points which is relevant to the current affairs, or some
From any particular source of like reports or scheme
yeah some
report
reports, or let's
or
say
annual report.
या जो अभी के टाइम पे जो एग्जांपल्स चल रहा है, try to relate it with the current affairs ताकि they understand that you are just not memorize the definition but you actually understand the application of it in your daily life. If possible, try to do that. But I mean,
और आपने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट सजेस्ट किया ऑन्ड्रेला while talking कि जिस सेक्शन में जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे सपोज इफ दे आर आस्किंग माइक्रो इंश्योरेंस इन इंश्योरेंस एंड मैनेजमेंट पार्ट
hmm,
and if they are asking micro insurance in ESI part, the approach should be different. It is
right,
not like what that is important that a students need to understand that in which section they are asking that particular question. So that if they are asking in ESI part, then you should link those things with the economic and social means with economic and social perspective, right?
right.
So that will definitely help and they sometimes used to do such experiments so that if a student to try to judge the knowledge of the students actually. So if any particular student have limited sort of knowledge और rectification करके गया एग्जामिनेशन में
Exactly.
तो वो वही लाइक ही और सी विल omit that only. और अगर उसको कॉन्सेप्ट पता है then obviously
Yeah, because
that particular student
they
knows to how
asked
to
me this in
articulate
my
the
interview
yeah.
also. जैसे मेरे interview में
Hmm.
they had asked me what is systemic risk. After I told them, they were like, is systemic risk only available in insurance? So they are trying to see if you, तो आप बस रट्टा मार के आए हो या फिर आपको एक्चुअल में नॉलेज है कि नहीं. तो they're looking for that in phase 2 also, I'm sure.
Okay. Chalo, coming to the last section, the interview part. So how was the interview? Just give us a brief information, like on the day of interview, like how you prepared for the interview, and what sort of thoughts coming in all in and around your mind on the day of the interview. Just experience some share
Right.
with us.
So for interview, initially I had quite a bit of mental block because there are a lot of peer groups these days on Telegram and on different social media, WhatsApp and all. There was a lot of noise regarding how if you are from the insurance background or if you're from the banking background, you'll have an advantage. And I had quite a little different profile compared to those people because I came from a very different job. So I remember I used to go to all these sessions, and I would keep on asking people like is it even worth preparing for the interview, because I have a very different, so they probably won't want me in the organization. But one thing I remember, one of the present officers in IRDA told me that that's actually an advantage for you, that you come from a very different background, because if you can prove them somehow that you can still contribute to the environment, and how you can contribute, that could be a very big turning point for you in the interview, because it's not a normal insurance job or a normal banking job. Here you will contribute in policy formation, then so they need the point of view of people from different parts of life, so they can have different thought process, while different exposure and everything. So yeah, so everybody who is not from insurance and banking background, people coming from commerce background, or let's say from zoology background, law background and everything, that's actually an advantage for you. Just make sure you can turn it into an advantage for yourself. One thing, this, as for preparation, I would suggest make sure your DAF is prepared really well, because the technical part of the, of course they might ask you some technical questions, and might ask you some educational questions too. They did to me too. But if you miss 2 3 questions there, they won't penalize you a lot for that, because they've already judged you on that on your phase 2 exams. What they're trying to understand in an interview is your personality and how well you fit into the organization. If you actually understand the need of the organization, ke unko kya chahiye, what they want in the in the officers that are there in the organization. So I would suggest every interview has a different way of approach. So आप जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जा रहे हैं, पहले उनका थोड़ा सा मिशन स्टेटमेंट आप पढ़ लीजिए कि वो लोग ढूंढ क्या रहे हैं. If possible, talk with some officers to understand what is the what are they searching for, and try to mold your profile into one that actually suits the organization. And so yeah, prepare your DAF really well. Second, of course, prepare the insurance basics. मतलब एकदम ही बेसिक क्वेश्चंस तो मिस ही मत करो कि पता चले आपसे पूछ रहे हैं कि सरकारी इंश्योरेंस स्कीम्स बताइए, आपको पता ही नहीं आ रहा है, उस वक्त याद ही नहीं आ रहा है, तब तो वो खराब हो जाएगा ना. बट हाँ, अब जैसे कुछ वजह से मुझे पूछा गया था कि व्हाट इज द राइडर इन इंश्योरेंस, और कुछ थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन पूछा, अगर आप नहीं बता सके, स्पेशली इफ यू डू नॉट हैव एन इंश्योरेंस बैकग्राउंड, आई डोंट थिंक दे माइंड इट अ लॉट. एक और आपका जो एकेडमिक बैकग्राउंड है, स्पेशली इफ इट्स लिंक्ड टू द organization, or if it's a technical educational background, like let's say engineering and all, तो उसमें आपसे थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर ऊपर से पूछ सकते हैं. तो yeah, like, but yeah, my main thing would be prepare HR questions really well, because they're trying to understand your point of view beyond the, of course, the आपका इंश्योरेंस एंड द एकेडमिक बैकग्राउंड. एंड जो अभी के इंश्योरेंस रिलेटेड, स्पेशली जो आपकी करंट अफेयर्स हो गए, इंश्योरेंस और फाइनेंस रिलेटेड करंट अफेयर्स हो गए, वो भी थोड़ा बहुत देख लीजिए. आई वुड सजेस्ट गो थ्रू दिस डिबेट्स क्वाइट अ बिट, बिकॉज आपको इंटरव्यू में बस फैक्ट्स हमेशा नहीं पूछते हैं. समटाइम्स इफ इट्स एन इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक, दे माइट एक्चुअली ग्रिल यू ऑन इट. इसमें जब आप, जैसे आपके न्यूज चैनल में डिबेट्स होते हैं आजकल, काफी आपके जो स्टडी चैनल्स भी होते हैं यूपीएससी वगैरह के, उसमें भी काफी डिबेट्स वगैरह चलता है. तो आपको एक थोड़ा बहुत न्यूट्रल
ओपिनियन एक डेवलप होना चाहिए
हाँ
किसी
हाँ, एक
पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक
न्यूट्रल
पे,
ओपिनियन बना
ओपिनियन
के
भी
चाहिए.
होता है.
डोंट बी
हम्म.
एक्सट्रीम अबाउट इट, because you don't know what is the opinion in front lane of the interviews in front. You might
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
end up offending them if you have an extreme interview. Try
We
to
need to
keep it
balance
between
the thing.
things. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's enough. And also try not to be negative about yourself in the interview. अगर आपको लग भी रहा है कि you have some constraint with regard to your profile, try not to show it. Try to show it as actually an advantage. Like there are a lot of people, I know some people who are like I'm only preparing for regulatory bodies, और उसके चक्कर में उनका 2 3 साल का गैप ईयर आ गया है, right? So don't take it as a disadvantage. Show it like, for example, in this situation, you can show it like, I was focused towards regulatory body, and that is my goal. That's why I'm focusedly preparing for that. So like, this is just an example. I'm saying like, if you have a constraint in your profile in any way, try to show it as an advantage and not as a disadvantage. Be very positive about yourself, because they're going to try to trick you into saying something negative about yourself. एक तो आपका normal
Yeah, why you are making so much gap?
या सो मच
How you
गैप
are justifying
है,
this
या
gap?
फिर आपको लेने से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को क्या दिक्कत हो सकता है, या फिर फॉर एग्जांपल आई वाज आस्क्ड कि आपकी प्रेजेंट जॉब में गिव मी एन इंस्टेंस वेयर यू फेल्ड, और जो नॉर्मल एकदम क्वेश्चन होता है कि से सम वीकनेस एंड एवरीथिंग। तो ये सब में
Hmm.
ट्राई टू इफ इट्स पॉसिबल ट्राई टू डिफ्लेक्ट इट और से समथिंग दैट डज नॉट अफेक्ट लाइक your work ethics or the organization, like does not go against the requirement of the organization, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
very rightly suggested you that just stick to those points and try to answer in such way that the ultimately the organizational ethics would not hamper, right?
Yeah,
It will not go against the organizational goal. And preparing DAF is very much important. With each and every point the DAF you need
yeah.
to prepare before the interview itself.
Because if you can't
And
something on the DAF, then it's like they'll figure out you're lying on the DAF. Because it's something you have given them information, so you should have everything, know everything related to it.
And Andrila, one more myth you have busted it as right now only that may it's a like a it's a general like thinking among the students who usually attach with different organizations. They think that if candidates who are working in banking or any related sectors, they got preferences in the interview. But right now you told that no, those candidates who are working in different profiles, if they justify that profile and if they justify their requirement in the organization in which they are willing to go, then it will definitely work for them, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. We should take these things in positive way rather than thinking that no, I am not attached with any banking related job or any other regulatory body related jobs. Then would I
Right.
get the chance to work in this organization or not?
Yeah.
We should not think in such negative way. Okay. Thank you, Andrila, for
Yeah.
giving such a informative information with us, sharing such type of informative. And Uh, well, at last thing, in Andrila, I would like to ask you, if you want to give any sort of suggestion for the beginners who are trying to prepare for IRDA exam for the coming years.
Right. See, for beginners, I would suggest I've already said everything. Like, understand the requirement of the exam. Make sure that you focus on the phase one. At least give 30% focus on it, if not completely. Don't neglect it. Second of all, stick to the syllabus. Don't go very beyond it, but make sure you're very aware about the syllabus. Try to have a comprehensive view about the syllabus. Don't have a very one-dimensional studies. Try to think about the topic from different point of views, and yeah, and
Make
just
some
start.
notes on each and every topic.
Yeah, on each and every topic, like as much as possible, right? Of course not every topic it's possible to have comprehensive point of view. जो straightforward है वो तो straightforward है, but जो जैसे जिसका application दूसरे उसमें भी है, especially in different sectors of economy, try to have at least a certain amount of idea about that too. It will actually enrich your answers a lot. Try to include current affair points in the answers as much as you can. Don't think too much about writing flow charts and graphs and everything. एग्जाम में ना आपको उतना स्पेस मिलेगा, ना उतना टाइम मिलेगा ये सब करने का, सोचने का. एंड डेफिनेटली स्टार्ट आंसर राइटिंग. लाइक फेज, जैसे आपका फेज वन खत्म होता है, आप आंसर राइटिंग स्टार्ट कर दीजिए, है ना. शुरू में आपके आंसर्स बहुत मतलब अच्छे नहीं होंगे अनलेस यू आर फ्रॉम लाइक यूपीएससी
Okay.
बैकग्राउंड, राइट.
Hmm.
आपके आंसर्स, आपकी हैंडराइटिंग अच्छी नहीं होगी. आपको एक जो आंसर आपको 10 मिनट में लिखना चाहिए आप आधा घंटे में लिखोगे. आप गूगल बार बार चेक करोगे, आपका आंसर सही नहीं होगा. बट स्टार्ट समवेयर, एंड इट विल गेट बेटर विद टाइम. आपका आंसर खुद भी खुद, and it will start getting better. And give mocks, either pure mocks or take some mocks of some आपका coaching classes and everything, because mocks give you a reality check which is very needed. Don't be in your लाला लैंड कि मैं तो सही लिख रही हूँ, मैं तो पहले यूपीएससी करके आई हूँ, क्योंकि सब एग्जाम का अलग रिक्वायरमेंट होता है ना. लाइक
Exactly,
जैसे
exactly.
मतलब जो आंसर आप यूपीएससी में लिखते हो इसमें उतना नहीं होता है, बिकॉज यूपीएससी का सिलेबस फॉर एग्जाम्पल इज वेरी वास्ट। उसमें आप थोड़ा अगर फैला के भी आंसर लिखोगे तो भी चल जाएगा, क्योंकि उसमें फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन यूपीएससी गेटिंग 50% मार्क्स में आप शायद टॉपर बन जाओगे यूपीएससी का, बट यहाँ पे यू हैव टू राइट लॉट मोर पॉइंट्स, राइट। आपको बहुत फोकस पॉइंट्स, बहुत ब्रीफ पॉइंट्स लिखना होगा, तो ये आपको आपकी मेंटर्स वगैरह हेल्प कर सकते हैं इसमें। सो डेफिनेटली टेक हेल्प ऑफ मॉक्स एंड ऑल, सो यू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप कहाँ लैक इन कर रहे हो।
It is only possible that how you are substituting, how you are matlab, making your answers point wise, or how you are like substantiate your answers. It is very important to practice more and more, like
Yes,
through
yes,
mocks, either
absolutely.
through mocks or any different source. Like you need to practice more and more. Practice the keyword, right?
Yes, yes.
So okay, okay. So with that, Andila, we will end up this session. Okay, and once again, thank you very much for sharing such type of like information with our aspirants, for those who are willing to get into this examination. And once again, I would like to congratulate you to finally make into the organization. And with this, uh, and my best wishes to you that you may reach to your you to the for the future interval. And you, I wishes that you will definitely take some good uh, decisions in this regulatory body to make the things more like for making India to achieve insurance for all, right?
Yeah, that's the goal.
2047. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Angela. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Best wishes.